far too often, especially when it comes down to technology, there are a lot of after the event decisions that occur. And that's never a good thing. And then, and what's the damage of that?
Oh, we're going to go live. We're going to go live.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Let me just jump this up. That's all right.
It's never a good thing. And then,
okay.
I think we're live now, so that's cool. I'm going to just, hopefully everybody's joining the room. Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining Once Upon a Time in London. My name's Harry, and today we're going to be talking about London's technology firefighters. That's the topic we've kind of put out there. I've got with me Jan and Yogi. How's it going, guys?
Good. Hi, Harry.
Good. Harry.
So this is episode 5, believe it or not. I can't believe we've done 5 already. And every week what we're trying to do is cover various topics, and me and Jan try and debate this over the weekends. So before we get into it, Jan, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, my name's Jan Kodabash. I work for Universal Technology Solutions, and I'm a network engineer, and we look at resolving issues working with clients across London.
Amazing. Yogi, tell us who you are, where you work, and what you do.
Hi, I'm Yogi Dinesh. I've worked in the industry for over 20 years. I've worked across the board, but I've also been very operationally based throughout my career.
Amazing.
So I'll just add to that. I've actually worked with Yogi for a long time, and he has been. There's probably not many people better served to actually talk on this topic actually as London firefighters, and then he kind of looks like a bit like, if he wasn't a network engineer, he could probably don a fireman's jacket and actually do the job. So you know,
Job there, Jan. So
I'm not hitting on you here, Yogi, but I mean, you know, just yeah.
Awesome. Before we get into the topic, we tend to talk about what we've been working on this week. So and anything that we've seen from a tech perspective that's quite interesting. So let me share my screen and I'll show you what I shared earlier today, which is quite interesting actually. And I know a couple of people have seen it, but can everyone see my screen all right? Does that come up all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me play this. So what I do during the week is I always look out for like cool tech stuff and post it on LinkedIn, see what people think, because I've got quite a few techies on my profile. And let me play this.
Watch this. Wait, black.
Basically,
this color changes color. The paint actually changes color. Look at this. Look, controlled by an app. Look, wave mode. Check this out.
Wow.
Yeah, let's blur that out.
This is not a light reflection. This is actually changing paint.
Now, I'd like to ask a couple of things on this one.
Yeah.
Firstly,
Go for it.
do they have the color tones that would sit well in East London? I mean, would they have a turquoise? Yeah, probably not. You know, so it's got a long way. They need to do that. And the other one is, can that app actually change the price? Because then I'm definitely in. Yeah.
You know what? What's really funny about this? So you said, yeah, if it could change the price, that'd be quite cool. Another chap commented and said, it'll be, if that car gets stolen, how are the police going to find it? That was pretty good, because the guys will keep changing the color.
In East London, it'd be fine. You know, just look for a turquoise BMW. You know.
You know who I think's in trouble though? It's the rappers. You know, there's a lot of car companies that rap cars.
Yeah.
So they make quite a bit of money by, you know, pay 4 or 5 grand, get your car wrapped, get a new color. So this is going to put them out of business, surely. So there's.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Technology, Jan. I'm pretty sure my son had a Hot Wheels car which you dip into water and it changes color. So it's probably just taken that.
Yeah, that's where it all came from. Yeah.
Right now, saying, you know, that was our idea.
Awesome. Cool. Well, in terms of the topic of firefighting, you know what? I think it would be interesting actually for everyone in the room talking about, before we go into it, what is a P1? Because I put it in the title, you know, priority 1. Just for people that don't even know what that is, can you guys describe what that means when that happens in a tech perspective in a company?
Go on, Yokes.
Well, a P1 is usually an instant where services are impacted. So it could be anywhere within the business, but it means there's impact to service. So it could be, your Windows, your server farm's down, or certain servers are not working. Your internet can be down, but it's actually impact. It's an impact. A P2 is where you've had an impact, but it's not. Your service is still running. P1 is where you're out of the game on whatever service you're running. So it's quite a broad spectrum, but everybody's environment is important to them. So there is no real one's more important than others, except for when it comes to business, when it's money making, of course. But realistically, a P1 is where a service is down.
And just on that is whether some companies will be, their P1 will be related to maybe reputational damage is more important to them, or it could be some type of revenue generation. They're going to be hit hard. So they look at it in different ways as well on that. So they're two key ones. I mean, sometimes it's both anyway, but P1, yeah. When you hear that, usually P3 is when you're allowed to have lunch. Yeah, it's not as important. You can actually go for lunch and come back and fix it. But and so yeah, that's when there's an outage.
So I think that was quite important actually, just to set that out, because I don't, some people might have heard the term, some people might not have. I think in terms of, let's talk about this then in terms of what goes wrong to qualify for a P1. I've got a note here is talking about crown jewels of the company.
Yeah.
You want to get into it that way?
So I call it the crown jewels of the company. Again, going back to what is important to a particular company. If you're a service and you're providing media content, yeah, for you, connectivity is going to be good, or your content itself that you're distributing is going to be probably your crown jewels. Yeah. You want to make sure that that's up, and you very rarely suffer an outage on something like that, because whether you've got connectivity or not, without any content that you're delivering, that's going to suffer. So that's an example. Maybe in some areas where banking, finance, if you're providing data to the market, that's critical, even more critical, because people are making decisions based on that information. That's going to be, your crown jewel. So everyone has their own, but it's ultimately just as important to the organization or to the service you're providing. Yeah. Do you agree with that, Yokes?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think there's so many forms of P1, but when the business really gets involved is when it is either revenue damaging or reputationally damaging. That's when everybody gets involved. Otherwise, usually smaller P1s, if there's such a word, are usually handled within the sort of infrastructure bubble.
Yeah, and actually you mentioned something there, Yokes, where we say P1 and it's probably quite loose. There are some instances of those P1s. Yeah, I mean, they probably say, it could be like a P0. Yeah, they only happen maybe once or twice, and we'll cover some of those. They generally, never, hardly ever happen. Maybe you get one of those a year. Yeah, or hopefully in some places, yeah, or once every 3 years, for example, and that's what it could be. It could be once every 3 years, and you'll talk about that one for years later, because it would have hit a lot of people, hard.
You're sort of, is it DEFCON 5? I think that's, I don't know if I've got the numbers right, but
yeah,
it's really, really, really gone bad. So that's
yeah.
sort of, yeah. We'll go with P0 for that one, Jan. I think
Yeah.
we'll,
yeah.
For everyone that's listening, and should we contextualize it with a story? I know we don't have to talk about companies or names or whatever, but is it worth going through like a scenario of what the worst P1 looks like, and what actually you guys would, if you guys qualify as the firefighters, what you would be doing in those situations?
Well, I mean, if you could take it as the scenario would be, or the consequence would be, that after that actually happened, you would find your company on the 6 o'clock news or 10 o'clock news that day. That's how severe it can be, and you're all fighting against that clock, because the impact is affecting a wide scale of, maybe say for example it's in the banking sector, definitely something like that, where maybe the markets have had to stop, or had an impact to the markets. It will be on the news, and you don't want to be the company that has caused that. So that's kind of like a situation, and we'll talk kind of we'll skirt around the actual main issue, but and Yogs, maybe you want to start with how one of those kind of starts out.
Well, I could just jump forward and say, the damage that can be caused, or once it becomes visible to the outside world, you need to give the outside world an explanation. Now, I don't know if it's relatively recent, but if anyone remembers a Facebook outage that occurred quite recently, where things went really, really wrong due to a network change, or an automated network change, and all the things.
P0 with that one. I think we call that one a P0.
T-1.
The things that went wrong, and all the really bad things that they missed. I don't know if you recall, but they had this very, very strict system to get into the data center, and no one could actually get in during a P0 because of all the steps they had to do. So it perpetuated the issue, and having that aired publicly, no company wants. So being able to sort of identify and resolve these things quickly is quite vital. So
can I just say, didn't they blame that initially on the network though?
Well, it was an automated.
Yeah.
That ran.
There you go. It was a network.
You know what's funny about that story also? I was talking to a colleague about that one. It's business resilience, isn't it? Like they had a fail point, that when it failed, everything failed. So they weren't actually quite resilient, were they? And it got all exposed.
When you think about the amount of money we spend, or the amount of time we spend in designing resilient solutions, obviously one of the first questions people are going to start asking when this type of thing happens is, where did that all go?
Yes.
Why are we finding ourselves in this situation?
And just to add, if your solution is resilient, you should never have a P1.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the truth. It's the truth. If your solution's resilient and it's been well tested and thoroughly tested, P1 doesn't exist. So that's the main thing. So, every business should look towards making sure that is always, always the benchmark which they should strive for. But
look, let's go now a little bit into, we've had one of those situations,
right.
Who are the people, and this is what I wanted to focus more on, the firefighters, people like yourselves, Yogs, you've been in there a couple of times, and I know you've been in some situations where everyone's had to roll their sleeves up. They've locked the doors. The days where they used to actually close you in and say, right, okay, we're staying in, we just got to get fixed. Who are these guys? I mean, what is it? Give me some of the characteristics.
Okay, so not everyone wants to. There are a few people who've generally got pride in the company, pride in what they're doing and their own work, and will never ever leave until it's resolved. There are some people who just want to go home. Shift's over, they want to go home. Those are not the types of people you want when you've got a major incident. You want the people that will stay up all night, will work around the clock, and will do whatever they can to support and ensure that business is restored at the soonest point possible.
But that thing there, that's kind of a given. It may not be in your contract, but would you say that that's those people who do that, they just know it as part of their, it's part
of who they are, It's you say it's kind of a given, but you do get a lot of people who just like to hang out in the background. You get some people who will see someone working on it and say, well, they're doing it, I guess I'm free then, and they're and they've got no more interest in what's going on because it's been taken care of. They don't have to get involved, and they don't have to have any of the pressure. So there are a lot of engineers out there that will be like, okay, person X and person Y has got the pressure, I can have my lunch and carry on with my day and go home, and it will be fixed tomorrow. And that happens a lot. You know, you won't. Not everyone wants to be on the forefront of things. Not everyone wants to be in the fire, trying to fix it. Some people don't like pressure.
So isn't that one of the characteristics then? You do need to have someone who's got some ownership, but like you mentioned, that pressure.
Yeah.
Maybe explain what that pressure, because look, then you can't blame them. You tell me, you know what they're like, what the environment's like. Tell me a little bit about the pressure and what goes on.
Firstly, you've got to be able to have that pride in, this is my problem, this is my company, I want to fix it no matter what. You got to have that innate pride in what you're doing and who you're working for, and your own work. Secondly, you have to be able to not be afraid of pressure. Pressure's a scary thing, you know, it's coming from all points. Can you survive that? Can you thrive on it? And there are certain individuals who do thrive under pressure, let's be honest. I mean, if you go back to university or something where you're having to hand an assignment, some people manage to do their best work 2 days before it's due to be handed in. Not that you should ever be in that situation, let's be honest, but you know, there are people who thrive under pressure. It's a strange characteristic in a human being. And I think, I mean, it's people who are actually brave, and also, I think also being technically competent or technically good to be able to have in their own ability on what they're doing and how they're doing it. If you're not confident in yourself, if you're not confident in your own technical ability, you'd want to hide as far as you can, because you'll be found out. And
I want to paint this picture, and just about pressure, because you know, you've said there is a lot, but now we've been alerted to a problem. You're looking at the problem. You spent probably 2 minutes on this problem, or 3 minutes, and the impact has been so great that now senior management, and I'm not just talking your manager, I'm talking about your managers come out, and he's seen you work, and he's sitting there and he's demanding, I want to know, what's the problem? How long is this going to take to fix? Now, he's not talking to your manager, he's talking directly to you, and you're busy fixing this problem, right? Now, standing next to him, in some places, they do have like a scribe, we used to call it the clipboard. Someone with a clipboard. Now they're recording this, and they're not just recording what's happening, they're recording the time it's taking, to analyze this afterwards. Now you've got these people, you've got obviously your guys standing there. That is pressure.
Yes, real pressure. And uncommon scenario, by the way. That has happened a lot.
So let me ask you, Harry, couldn't you imagine what other industries that could be? I mean, could be.
Yeah, there's in a few. It's in a few. I mean, I'm not a network engineer by any means, but you know, I've been involved in lots of big events from a marketing point of view, lots of kind of sales kickoffs, lots of kind of live shows. And you know, when there's technical problems where the mic's not working and the person on stage is speaking and he's kicking off because the mic's not working, and you're like running around trying to figure out where to get the new mic from, and all of it's live in front of 500 people, by the way. And you know, reputational damage, etc., etc., etc. It's almost like if there's no problems, then it's cool. Like you've almost got to be invisible, basically.
Yes.
You know? And I think that's the key, isn't it? Like everyone just expects everything to run smoothly, and if there's a hiccup, then suddenly everyone's awake. What's going on? So
this is where you go back now to that person. Defining that person needs, and he'd understand that situation. He'd have understood that situation and what he's going to be put under. And that's what we're not just talking about someone who likes working under pressure or doesn't like it. It's he'd have understood that and knows. And I know Yogs has been in loads of situations like that. You know, we've encountered it, and it's just an expectant, of that caliber of engineer to be able to do that and be able to actually now communicate with that senior level of management as well.
in the right format as well, John, because don't forget, it's not just, the engineer needs to be able to assess the issue, assess the impact, look at possible solutions within a very short space of time, and offer the business a number of avenues to try and resolve the issue, and also explaining what the impact of each one is. It's a lot to process and to sort of and business in a very, very short space of time. While shouting or looking for,
if you think about it, also, I'm going to say that it's quite, for me, obviously, when I look at it, anyone in this situation has to be calm, like literally anything, like almost stay in their own bubble, not get too high, too low, but they can have clear train of thought. And it's also almost like you're in that moment, you're coming up with creative solutions. It's almost you're innovating in that very second, if that makes sense.
No, you are, but you're also trying to get to grips with the problem. I mean, it does take you some time. I mean, obviously, some people may know the problem straight away, yeah. But some people are also trying to understand the problem because it's just happened. Information. But I'll give you a scenario. This is quite a funny one, where a colleague of mine was being, the senior manager would come out and they said to him, "Look, are you going to fix this? Are you?" And he just kept, yep. This guy stopped and he said, "Listen, I'm fixing it now if you leave me alone. And if I don't fix it, I'll get my coat. So do you want me to carry on, or do you want to keep asking me questions?" He actually said that. And the guy just turned around and goes, "Go on, carry on."
I love it.
Yeah, so I won't mention who said that, but yeah.
Have to be that firm sometimes, because people, not just the engineer doing it, other people around him do panic, and that's never a good thing. Never a healthy thing for people to panic. So you have to be firm, you have to be confident in what you're trying to do and your methodology, and that's what you need, right? You need to be able to even measure what you want and what you need.
So tell you talk about methodology and the ideal. So in a situation like that, what goes through your mind, and how would you tackle that piece? Or say, for example, how would you maneuver in that situation? What would be on your, because you've got people telling you want to communicate. How do you kind of stand to attention and go, right, this is what needs to be done, just maybe at a high level?
So the first thing is, and this happens really quickly, because first thing, something's wrong, something's broken. You get a message, something's broken. So at that point, you need to assess what can it be. But the information being fed to you about what's broken, what's working, what's not working is so vague. You're never going to get a very good, concise bit of information. You'll just get this is not working the majority of the time. So then you have to sort of take that bit of information, try and siphon more information from the source, as well as try and look at what can possibly have gone wrong. Look at alerts, look at, has there been any alerts? Has anything else broken? Is there any indication of what could possibly have happened? So you're trying to process all these alerts coming in. You're trying to find out what's not working, what's working, what's not working, and to try and get the impact of that. And also you're trying to get what is anyone else impacted as well, to try and home in on what it could possibly be.
So how are you coordinating this?
I have no idea how I do it myself. Sometimes.
No, I mean, do you pull people in at that point? What do you ask to get done?
Not at that point. First, but the thing is, you've got no assessment of what the actual issue is. So before you pull people in, because what you don't want is to be the boy who cried wolf. Something's gone terribly wrong, but I've just let all management know, but actually it's just this one guy who can't access one thing. There has to be a level of sort of vetting what the issue is before you actually highlight the issue to the broader audience, because otherwise they'll get bored of you, and then when an actual event does happen, no one's going to pay attention. So you have to it to a degree, depending on how much noise gets made, how quickly you'll know when to call a broad audience or not, or you'd hope to know. The only time that doesn't work, if it happens during the day, very easy. Everyone knows, everyone's in a case, you'll know instantly there's a fire, we need to put it out. When it's even more vital, and I believe, is when it happens out of working hours. So if something breaks out of working hours, that can impact your production day. Someone's aware of something, but there's not so much noise at that time because people aren't logged on, people aren't checking. So that's where it's vital to look at a situation, assess it, and let the broader audience know. Even if it's at 3 o'clock in the morning, let people know, because you've got from 3 till whatever 7 to try and fix it. The last thing you want to know is you knew at 3, but the business found out at 7 o'clock, and that's when it's a disaster. So in working hours, I think anyone listening to this who's been through something similar will know that, you know, it very quickly escalates to senior management within seconds. So
say, for example, you've been in that problem, and say, and you know, I'm talking times here. So say it's been 5 to 10 minutes, and that's, I know it sounds a little bit of time, but that's probably
that's massive.
That's massive in when there's an issue. What would you do? And you're still at that point, and you still don't know, but you know something's happened. Have you ever? Yeah. Have you ever? Oh, you don't know. You have to tell the business I don't know. You have to while you're looking at it, you still have to think about what can we do. Now, I think Harry mentioned a resilient solution. Sometimes you have a manual failover, a manual isolation. You know, you got to decide on the severity of what's wrong, and then you have to offer the business some alternative solutions. You know, you have to be semi-creative and say, well, I don't know, I'm still looking at this, how long do I have? If we haven't got this time, we can do this, but this may cause this impact, and you might be impacted for X amount of time. Please be aware, you decide. So you have to give the business. So I've been in a situation then before at that stage, and you're communicating it to it, but everyone gets told to stop. Yeah, everyone gets told to stop and say, right now, has anyone done anything on this network? Put your hands up now and tell us, because we don't know. And you're calling it out. Yeah, that's something that happens, right, Yokes? I mean, you will stop, and everyone, whether you huddle or just get up off your chair and say, has anyone done anything? Tell us now. Yeah, because you know you spent 5 minutes, you don't know what it is. You want someone to say, actually, you know what, it was me. Whatever, it was me, I did this. So you can go then attack that situation. So again, doesn't happen a lot, that, but it's a real state, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if that the most important thing for anyone who's an actual engineer listening to it, if that ever does occur, always put your hands up straight away. It's never a wise move to not withhold that information while everyone's working. It's never a wise move to come out, you know, later after you've lost half an hour or whatever. And also, as much as you think no one will find out, people always find out. I've never had a situation where we've never found out who was the person or who's the person that did things.
That's quite interesting, that, Yokes, because you say that they always find out, and the thing is, the issue may have lasted only 5 to 7 minutes, but believe me, the post analysis could take up to 2 weeks, because they will forensically go through in detail what happened, how they got into that situation. And that's probably everyone, you know, doesn't look forward to that, because that's when a situation which is, you know, not nice to see, but at the end of one of these type of events, you sometimes would see it happen. I've seen it a couple of times. A colleague get up off his chair, you know, after the issues happened, you know, if it was his fault, he gets walked off site. Yeah, not a very nice thing to see. Again, another one that's expected. That's the level, you know, you have to take the hit for it. And especially if it's something you've done which is completely outside of your normal process. Yeah, you haven't followed the governance that you were supposed to. Yeah, so that's it. But Yokes,
I jump now, but I just have to add that governance is supposed to do that rule book. If it's followed, you know, religiously, you can circumvent a lot of issues. But you know, a lot of times people get pressures from PMs to deliver things. You know, everyone's under pressure all the time. Let's be honest. In a high intense environment, you're always under pressure, and people can sway and say, you know, and just do this. I'll just do something so minor. What damage could it do? It's just those are the worst things to ever say, because to be honest, you get away with it 100 times out of 99 times out of 100. That one time, you'd be surprised. Even
before you go, Anna, because I know we've got a hard stop with you, Yogs, because you know you've probably gone off to firefight something probably. If you were looking at this type of engineer to interview, or what characteristics, what would you say they need to have? If you're looking at top 3 things of a personality or skill or, you know, certification, what would it be?
It'll be love of 80s action movies, which is the most. But realistically, technical competence, very important.
Now, does that mean specific, or are you talking about broad?
No, I mean being technically competent is quite important. If you're confident in your ability,
right,
it gives you confidence to verbally to communicate. Communication is also very important, and then you have to run them through a sort of multiple troubleshooting scenarios and see how they act and how their brain works. Because if you're firefighting, your brain's it's like a Rubik's cube of how your brain ticks, and it's not what you do, it's how you think which will make the engineer. And to try and find someone who is one of those thinkers, critical thinkers, who can see an issue and let their mind sort of expand and start looking at all the possible solutions or possible things that could have gone wrong, and try and encompass that very quickly. That's a rare trait. And you have to have, you know, you could be an excellent engineer, but just not very good at that lateral thinking. And and being able to interview someone and sort of put them through the test and try and see how their brain works, I think is vital.
Okay, thank you, Yogs. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Yogs has got to run because he had a hard stop at that. Thanks, Yogs.
Thanks, guys.
Harry, thanks a lot. What did you think of that?
I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I mean, you know, the psyche of someone who, you know, is in that moment. I mean, we all had those moments in all different industries. Obviously, in tech, you know, kind of.
Yeah.
For me, it's interesting because you see the true colors of everyone, don't you? In those moments, when things are going wrong, that's when you see who you can trust, who you can rely on, who's going to panic, who's going to stay calm. And actually, I think the more, in a weird way, the more adversity that you face, the better you get.
And yes, you know, you mentioned something there that reminds me of a manager I had. This is quite a long time ago, and I was working for one of the larger banks. And whenever there was, like I said, that you can have the senior management that come down shouting at you, you know, just really pressuring you. And, you know, we had quite a strong team there. And at that time, we, you know, when there was a P1 issue or something like that, we were on top of it. The kind of script, we knew what to do. Yeah. And we ran that script all the time, you know, so you need to know how to communicate and you had to look at it. And I always remember him because he would always come up and say, look, just come up first. He goes, look, guys, because he knew, you know, we had a handle on it. He would go make teas, come back, and just make sure everyone's got a drink. Yeah, it's just all he would say is, you guys good? Everything okay? Do I need to do anything for you? And go back. And he'd have a quick check-in every now and then like that. Yeah. And I've never seen someone so calm, a manager who is so calm like that in a situation like that, where, you know, incidents in other teams that would happen, you know, you see the manager scrambling. Look, there's no right or wrong about it. It's just that stands out to me, you know, because in a situation like that where he's going to be questioned, he's gone and made teas for everyone and brought them in, you know. So,
well, we touched on this in another episode, didn't we, when we talked about, you know, making colleagues feel safe.
Yeah.
You know, for me, when you make everyone feel safe in your business, then people are going to perform, aren't they, at the end of the day? So, and the weird thing is, when you really boil it down, you know, okay, you've got a P1, but you're still alive. You're still, you know.
Yeah, and you know what? The thing is, and I kind of try to say it when Yogi was on I'm talking about the expectations. You know what? We
Mm.
went through when that actually happens, that engineer that Yogi's talking about, he is expecting people to be shouting down at him. He's not going to go home. I'm not saying this is wrong and be upset because they were shouting at him during the time. He's not going to be. He knows that that's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whether they're nice to him or pat him on the back, it's just that he knows that that's how it is. The pressure's there on everyone. Yeah. And he's going to, and that's where that characteristic happens all the time, whether it's right or wrong. I'm not here to say that, but I know that person isn't going to go back and go, you know what? I'm fed up with this place because you know what, they keep shouting at me, or when it's a situation that grave, yeah, he knows how to perform, his job, and also under that pressure, he's used to it, yeah, and he's just expecting it, yeah.
You know what I think? He or she.
He or she,
We'll leave it like that. We'll leave it like that.
yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks so
Okay.
much for today. We'll see you
Thanks
next
a lot.
Friday.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, bye. Yeah, bye.